Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. Today I am going to be doing the Booktube Oldie Tag. Yay! I don't remember who created this tag, but I will definitely link the original creator down below. And I don't remember if I was tagged by anyone. I just saw it and I thought, hey, I've been here for 4 years. I'm kind of an oldie. And the point of this tag is because, the reason this was initially created is because some people have been on Booktube since before the Booktube newbie tag was created, which is kind of a staple for new booktubers. I didn't do the Booktube newbie tag when I started. I did the new to Booktube tag. There was 2 different ones and I liked the questions of the new to Booktube tag. And now I kind of wished that I did the Booktube newbie tag because I feel like more people find that tag than the one that I did, and maybe that got me off to a slower start, but we'll get into all of that later. Anyways, let's just go. There are 7 questions in this tag, and then I'm going to add on a little bit more because in my Q&A that I did recently, Bree Hill had asked me some questions that I thought might be covered on here, and I just want to make sure I cover those questions that she asked as well, just in case I don't quite get to them in my answers to these tag questions. So let's just jump right in. Number 1, how long have you been a part of the Booktube community? As of April 22nd or 21st, I've been here for 4 years. 4 years, that's crazy. 4 exciting and lovely, fun years. Number 2 is, what was your biggest misconception before starting Booktube? So I found Booktube, this is not really the question, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So I was watching the adaptations of Jane Austen's work that are on YouTube. So the Lizzie Bennet Diaries and Emma Approved, and I kind of went down this rabbit trail of these adaptations, and I was watching them all the time. And then on my suggested videos along the side, I started to see other things popping up about people talking about books. And so I clicked, I think the first person that I found was Ariel Bissett. I started watching her, and from there went into this YouTube black hole, as one does, watching, like, clicking from video to video and just finding all of these people talking about books on YouTube, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. I had never really been a big YouTube person before that, and someone else had told me about the Jane Austen retellings, and so I was just very excited to find all these people talking about books. At the beginning, however, I was seeing a lot of young people, 20-somethings, even younger, late teens, and a lot of really big personalities. So I had a lot of fun watching them, but at first never really thought that I would want to be a part of this community because I was already in my 30s and not a huge personality, and I didn't know anything about the tech side of things. Those misconceptions were that you had to be young, you had to have a big personality, and you had to do some cool editing stuff. And maybe to get your channel to grow really big, you still need those things, but I don't have any of them, and I'm very pleased that there is such a broader picture of Booktube than what I originally thought. Number 3 is, how has Booktube changed since you first started? And I think I kind of touched on that, but I think there were people outside of that norm of like late teens, early 20s, big personalities reading YA. There were people outside of that at the beginning, but not many, and I didn't know about them. But now it's so easy because first of all, there's so many more people making videos than there were 4 years ago. It's just bloomed into this amazing garden, and you can find any kind of flower you want. So there are like subcultures, I think, within Booktube, or like pockets of community, I should say, within YouTube, and within Booktube, and I think it's beautiful. So there's, like, if you like to read sci-fi fantasy, you can find your people. If you like real literary fiction, you can find your people. If you want just translated fiction, you can find your people. If you read a lot of YA, you can find your people. If you love middle grade, you can find your people. So there's all different kinds of pockets of community, and I think that they do intertwine quite a bit, but you can definitely find somebody who's reading what you want, and I think that that's beautiful. It's not just all 20-somethings reading YA. So that's awesome. I love that. And I think that that's a big change since Booktube first started. And also, not just in genre or preferred genre, but I think there are a lot more colors and abilities and nationalities and there's a lot more people represented than what I originally thought. And that might have been over time. It might have been I just didn't know where those people were. But I think that it's beautiful that BookTube is becoming so much more diverse. It probably has a lot more room to continue to grow in that area, but I do think it's great that you can find people in so many different countries. You can find BookTube channels that aren't in English, which I love. So I've come across a couple that are Spanish speaking or other nationalities represented as well. And I just think that that's super cool. Super, super cool. Number 4 is, what is your favorite BookTube memory? I do have a couple. I remember when I first started, I really had no expectation of size of channel because I was just so new. I was just so new to the whole YouTube thing in general. I wasn't watching beauty YouTubers. I wasn't watching all these other creators. I wasn't really watching anything. So I had no expectation of how big or small my channel would be. I just kind of started. So I remember my friend Lisa started with me. And so first of all, that's a huge, wonderful memory, is that I had a in real life friend who also had a channel at the same time as me. And she doesn't post videos anymore, but Brand New Book Smell was her channel name. And I just loved doing it with her and like talking about people that we were finding and discovering and channels that we were watching and ideas. We'd bounce off of each other. And so that was really special to me to start with someone else. And I don't know that I would have continued as long as I did without having that initial like foundation of somebody in my life doing it with me and like catching the buzz with me and like getting excited about all those little milestones along the way, such as hitting 100 subscribers. I just remember being mind blown that I had people watching, and it totally was just like pure joy that I had people, because I wasn't that 20-something reading YA. I mean, I did read a lot of YA at the beginning because I kind of felt like I needed to, and I enjoy YA now and then. Not as much now as I did when I first started. I definitely read a lot more at the beginning because that's what I was hearing about all the time. But I was a late 30-something, not like super glamour made up, not fancy editing or anything like that. I mean, I was just sitting down chatting about books, and I was so excited when I got 100 people. I also remember the first time a video of mine got a dislike. I felt like I had finally arrived. It was like maybe a year into my journey. I definitely was a slow and steady growing channel, still am. I don't think I've ever had like huge bursts in growth. It's always been very slow and steady, but I remember that first time, and it was maybe a year and a half. I don't know how far into my YouTube journey that it was, but I remember the first time I clicked on a video and I got that dislike. For 1 second I was like, why? Why didn't you like it? What did I do? And it's not that you do anything. I mean, you could talk about one book that someone else loved and that you didn't like, and they're going to dislike you. And now it's kind of, I don't even pay attention to it really. But I remember getting that first one and feeling like, I'm a real booktuber. I'm a real YouTuber. I have arrived. It's such a silly thing, and I am thankful that I don't get very many dislikes. I guess as I grow, I should expect it more, but I remember that first one and it being like a standout memory. So silly. Number 5 is, what are some books that you were introduced to because of BookTube? And at this point, it's hard to differentiate because the majority of books that I read, I'm introduced to now because of Bookstagram and BookTube. But very clearly at the beginning, my YA world was opened up. So things like the Lunar Chronicles, which I had walked past in bookstores many, many times. And on the cover of Cinder, let me get it, it's right here. On the cover of Cinder, it has this foot, like mechanical foot. And I didn't read a lot of sci-fi, and I didn't read a ton of YA. And so I'm like, I like the idea of a fairy tale retelling, but what is up with the mechanical foot? So I remember walking past this many times, but when I first started, this series was really big, and I finally took the plunge and dove in to the Lunar Chronicles, and I read all 4 books in the main 4 books within a 2-month period. I just ate them up. I couldn't get enough of the Lunar Chronicles. But other YA series like Leigh Bardugo in the Grisha trilogy and Six of Crows, Sabaa Tahir and the what are those called? Ember in the Ashes, Torch Against the Night. I still need to read the third one. But I read those that first year and loved them. But then outside of that, I mean, I've been introduced to so many different things. I think particularly one that I wouldn't have read if it weren't introduced to me is Bird Box, which is a horror novel. And April from Getting Hugga With It will say that still it's one of the scariest books that she's read. And I don't read scary, but for some reason I picked up Bird Box and loved it. I read that as a buddy read, I think with Robin from A Driftless Reader. I think that's who I buddy read that with, and just had a good time reading that with her, and also just reading outside of my comfort zone. But yeah, I think most of the books that I hear about now, I hear about because of other people that I'm watching. So it's hard to differentiate. Number 6 is, what is something that frustrates you about BookTube? And honestly, I had a hard time coming up with something because this is an area of my life that brings me so much joy in general. And when I watch a lot of other people, I don't feel frustrated about things. I think for me, I get frustrated with myself when I start to play that comparison game. Because now that BookTube is such a variety of people, there are other people like me on here that are a little older, that are reading different things and not just YA, that have Christian values like I do. So there are just all kinds of different readers now. And so when I look at people who have something in common with me, and I see that their channel has skyrocketed in numbers or has so many thousands of views, and I start to wonder, well, what's wrong with my channel? And it doesn't happen all that often, because honestly, I'm just really pleased with the fact that I can still respond to every single comment, and that I have this community on here that I absolutely love. I'm very, very thankful and content with the slow and steady, but every once in a while, that little niggling comparison, evil voice in your head that we all have to deal with in different areas, right? And it's something that I deal with as well. And so that's something that frustrates me, but it has nothing to do with anybody else. It's just my own personal, it doesn't last very long, because I usually am able to like smack myself back to like, duh, Krista, you're very happy with your channel and you love the people that you've connected with because of it. Let's just carry on having fun. So there is, yeah, it comes and it goes, but that's something that occasionally does frustrate me. But it, yeah, again, has nothing to do with anybody else. And then number 7 is, what is your hope for the future of BookTube? And I think I've kind of touched on this already. I think that if it continues to grow into a more beautiful and accurate picture of our world, so lots more of different voices reading different things, and just speaking their truth, and I love seeing a lot of honest opinions on here, whether you like or dislike a book. As of right now, from what I've experienced myself and heard from so many others, it is one of the most kind and like welcoming and loving communities on BookTube. Again, I don't have a lot of experience in other communities and like reading the comments and stuff. And I've had very, very few comments that are not kind. Very few. And they just make me laugh at this point, because what's the point of saying that? I was just told the other day on one of my recent videos, someone said, "You talk too much. I had to hit the mute button." Okay, bye. Like, it's kind of what I do. I'm here to talk. But just silly comments like that. So I just hope that for the future of BookTube, that it continues to be a place that is kind and welcoming and loving to all sorts of different people. I hope that channels that are different get the views and the subscribers, and that they find their community, and that we branch out into those other communities and connect with people that might be different from us. I think that's super important as well. So I hope that I see that already happening, and I hope that continues to happen as BookTube continues to grow. And as I'm here, I hope I continue to search for and find people that are different from me, and like make them a part of my community and become a part of their community. I think that that's a beautiful thing. Okay, looking over to Bree's question. So that's the end of the tag questions. So I'm going to tag Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand and Lindsey's from Lindsey's Little Library. I think you guys started Well, I think, Sarah, I think you started before me. Lindsey, I'm not sure when you started. I'm going to tag you two girls. I'm going to tag Lindsey from The Wandering Reader. I haven't seen a video from you in a long time, Lindsey, so I hope that this will pull you back in because you're somebody that has been here with me for almost the whole time. And Robin from The Driftless Reader as well. You too, Lindsey and Robin, I haven't seen stuff from you in quite a while, so I would love to see you answer these questions. So I'm going to tag those 4 girls who I've been watching for such a long time. They've been here for years, not months. So, and anybody else, if you've been here around 4 years, if you started around the same time as me, do this video and let me know. Okay, now on to Bree's questions. She asks me, has my reading changed since I've started? So I talked about that a little bit, that at the beginning especially, I read a ton of YA. And while I still do read some YA, I tend to like YA fantasy better than YA contemporary. And I've always read a lot of historical fiction. That has not changed. I've always read middle grade, but definitely in the last 3 years since starting middle grade March with Katie from Life Between Words, I definitely have upped my middle grade reading game. So that's changed quite a bit. I've always read middle grade, but not to the level that I read it now, or the quantity, I should say. Okay, so I did kind of talk about this. As far as the Booktube community, what are some of the differences you've noticed between now and then? Yeah, it's just become a lot more diverse, and we can continue to grow in that area for sure, but I love that we've gone in that direction. And then, are there any Booktube trends that faded away that you wish would make a comeback? I think tag videos were super popular when I first started. Way more than they are now. I'm glad they took a little break. I feel like they're starting to come back, but I'm glad they took a break because it felt for a while there that every tag had similar types of questions and I hated doing them. It was hard for me to come up with answers for tag questions, so I didn't always do tags, but I think that they were much more popular than they are now, and I think now there's kind of like a resurgence of some tags and there's some varieties of tags. Also, there's a ton more readathons. Oh man. I remember when there was just a couple standout readathons every year. Now there's a couple standout readathons every single month, and then there's like all these smaller niche readathons. You can find a readathon for just about anything. Almost every month I feel like there's so many options for readathons, and I think that's fun that there's so many more now. Trends that faded away. Also, faded away, I guess, would be individual book reviews. I never really did individual book reviews. I think I have 2 from way back. There are a few people who still do them, and I honestly don't watch them. Sometimes I will if it's a book I've already read, but yeah, individual book reviews is a trend that has kind of gone by the wayside. And finally, she says, we see so many creators come and go. As someone who's been consistent for 4 years, what's your advice to new booktubers or anyone considering starting a channel? Oh, do it. Definitely do it. Listen, I film on my phone still. I always have. There was a short period when I bought a fancy camera, not a vlogging camera, but like a DSLR, and I tried to film on there, but I could never get the focus right because I'm dumb. I never did the research, like played around with it enough to get it to be good. So I film on my phone still 4 years in. I don't have a microphone. I don't have anything fancy. I have a Mac computer, so I airdrop my video to my Mac and then edit it in iMovie. Very, very basic. I don't pay for any other subscription service. I make sure to film where I have light, and I don't have a fancy light. I have 3 lamps and 2 windows in this room going right now, and an overhead, which probably isn't the greatest because the overhead is what gives me shadows. I don't have the greatest lighting. I don't have anything fancy, nothing extra. It doesn't take all the extra to start a channel. Make sure you can be heard, and make sure you have light, and make sure you're reading books. And you don't have to be reading tons and tons. Just talk about what you're reading, and people will find you, and you'll find your community. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Ask Berna from Berna's Bookish Adventures. Sorry, Berna lives in Turkey, and I got to meet her last summer, and I convinced her, among others, I was one of the voices that convinced her to start her channel. Just do it. You'll find your groove. It is a little awkward at the beginning to start talking to a camera. I should do a whole video. I'll stop there. Just do it. It doesn't take anything extra. You have a voice and you have a unique perspective just because you have because you're you and you have your own experiences that you're bringing to the table and you're bringing to each book that you read. You have your own opinions about things, the way that you read, the things that stand out to you. People want to hear all of that, and it's so fun. It's so fun once you start having your group of people that will comment on your videos and that you're going to just find connection with. It's so cool. It's definitely worth it. Go for it. That's my advice. And let me know if you do, because I'll stop by and say hello. And I was going to say one more thing about it. Oh, and do the Booktube newbie tag, honestly. If you haven't done it yet and you're a new channel, do the Booktube newbie tag. I know that there was a while there that I would search the Booktube newbie tag and just find people and just like welcome them to the community. There are still people who do that. It's a quick, easy way to find other people who are starting around the same time as you that you can kind of like buddy up with and get to know. Do the Booktube newbie tag. I've talked plenty long enough, so I'm gonna stop there. Again, I thank you guys for being around, whether you've been here for 4 years or 4 months or 4 days or 4 weeks or 4 seconds. Just kidding. I'm such a dork. Yeah, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being a part of my little community here on the interwebs. And I look forward to 4 or 40 years more. Oh, can you imagine 80-year-old Krista? Well, hopefully I'm still able to read. Hopefully I'm still alive. Good gracious. Oh my word, that took a dark turn. That's all for me today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you're notified when I post new videos, because I don't do a schedule. That's another thing, newbies. You can do a schedule if you want to, if that helps you. I knew it wouldn't work for me, so I never have had a schedule. And here I am, 4 years later, still plugging away. All right, let's chat down in the comments. You guys know I always love talking to you down there. And I will talk to you in another video very soon. Bye.